Hey, what's up, everyone? This is me, Dre. I want to do a gun review. Now, as a Texas resident, this is an open carry state. The reason why I got a gun is because I wanted something for home defense. I live in a pretty decent neighborhood for my apartment complex, so I've never really had any issues. But I decided I would just go ahead and get a gun for peace of mind. I have no intention of open carrying because this is an open carry state. That was something that was just passed as of January 2016. You're not going to see me on YouTube trying to prove a point that I have a right to carry my guns and have a confrontation with police because, as you know, black people, being confronted by the police sometimes doesn't end well, and I don't want to be the next hashtag. So I know I'm being facetious, but in all seriousness, having a gun, there's always been a question as far as the ease of getting a gun, and quite honestly, it is very easy. So when you see the things like Omar Mateen, who recently shot up the gay club in Orlando, Florida, or you see any of the other mass shootings that have happened over the past couple of years, the ease in which it is to get a gun, you don't even have to be on some sort of criminal watch list. I went into Academy Sports, and after a process of about 45 minutes, I walked out with a gun, basically because they're a merchant that's licensed to sell firearms to consumers. I just had to fill out some paperwork, got some ammunition, and I left. The whole process of getting the concealed handgun license, that's the part of the process that I'm still going through. I've yet to fire my gun. I've never taken my gun outside the home. I've already applied for the CHO, or the concealed handgun license. Part of that requires that I take a training class, which can be anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. Part of it in the classroom where I'll be learning gun laws, confrontation resolution, and then the other part of it will be actually on the range, discharging the firearm, just doing a battery of different courses just to see how proficient I am with shooting the gun. I'm really excited about that. I'm really, really excited. So I'll be doing that soon. From there, I'll be getting my paperwork from the instructor. I'll be forwarding everything to the government, and in a couple of weeks, they'll determine whether I'm worthy enough to get a handgun license. And I'm more than positive in the fact that I will get my handgun license simply because I don't have a criminal record. There's a lot of restrictions that could prevent you from getting a handgun license. However, I don't fit any of those categories because I am pretty much a law-abiding citizen despite the shit that I talk on my YouTube channel. But the firearm, as you see, it's in this case. This is a single gun case from GPS. These are usually included with the GPS tactical backpack. I decided to get one separately because I do have a GPS range bag, and I just wanted something to fit separately for my gun for when I start going to the range. I decided to, after a lot of research, I wanted something with a high magazine capacity, and I wanted something that looked aesthetically pleasing but also had some stopping power. So I decided to go with the FNH, which is a Fabrique National Herstal. I believe it's a parent company out of Austria. They do have their U.S. base here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where the gun is, manufactured also, and you'll see that soon. But I got the FNS 40 caliber. Once again, big bullets, stopping power. I decided not to go with the 9mm, which has a slightly higher magazine capacity, but a bullet's a bullet. A bullet will stop anyone, even a 22. Once again, I have no intention of going out and proving a point of trying to hurt someone. I want to be able to shoot recreationally, but also I want the peace of mind knowing that if in the event that someone decides to break into my home, then I can well enough protect myself. So let's go ahead and get this open. By the way, this bag, and I'll do a separate review on this. It's got a little handle right here. But it fits everything that I need, especially because of the fact that it also fits within my range bag. All right. So this is the FNS 40. Now, the gun itself, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but the bag itself on this side, it's got 4 sections for magazine sleeves. I've got 2 of the magazines loaded, and again, I haven't fired the gun. And the best part about this, which I didn't realize until I got the gun, and I'll go ahead and perform a safety check, but the firearm also comes with a magazine and already inserted. So, and doing the magazine check, once again, there's no bullets in this magazine, and I'll just rack the slide, do a safety check, just visually and physically, always keeping the gun away, but there's no bullets in here. So, and each magazine is a 14 round capacity, plus you can have one in the chamber. So a lot of guns that I had seen will only include one, maybe two if you're lucky. And also there's a little bit of branding on the front. It's a 40 Smith & Wesson. It also will accept 357 SIG ammunition. So these are nice. Also purchased separately was this what's called a Maglula. It's a magazine loader, and I'll have to do a separate video on this. But this right here, for the person that created this, you need a hug. You really do, because the first time I tried to load a magazine, and I'd never done it before, it was awkward. But to my understanding, the more bullets you load into a magazine, the more difficult, because each bullet is pressing down on a spring, and there's more tension with the spring as you getting close to full capacity for the magazine. This facilitates the process. It makes it so much easier. Again, I have to do a separate video on the use of Maglula. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. It helps to load as well as unload, which you won't use that process because you can just unload with your thumb. But the gun itself, once again, this is the FNS 40. Now this right here is about a full size. It's not the long slide. Inside it's got a 4-inch barrel, but it's very comfortable. Starting with the handle, you have a very aggressive stippling. So on the front, sides, and the back, it's just the texture and holding the firearm. It's very, very comfortable. Very comfortable. You have the dovetail right here. So with the web of my thumb and the forefinger, it catches nicely. I've got rather big hands, so with this gun it comes with 2 back straps as a little insert hole I have to use, and you can barely see it. I don't want to point the gun towards me because I have a lot of gun enthusiasts freaking out because I'm pointing the gun in my direction, but I've already did a gun check for safety reasons. But there's a little pinhole where you can use, I've used the safety pin or a paper clip, just pushed it in there, slid it out. There's another one that's very thin, makes the handle almost look like the handle of a 1911. But since I have rather big hands, I decided to go ahead and keep with the large grip. Ambidextrous controls with the safety as well as the slide lock, where you can see on both sides. Now there's the takedown lever. It's only on the left side of the firearm. On the slide, you have front as well as back serrations. So when you're doing the check, you can just grab from either side. You have a 3-dot sight. Once again, I don't want to point the gun towards me again. I'm still a novice. I'm an extreme novice, so I don't want gun enthusiasts to get all over me. But it's got a 3-dot sights that are built in. These can be changed out to different types of sights, but I decided to go ahead and keep with these. Apparently they glow in the dark. I haven't seen that as of yet. But for the visuals and target acquisition, these work pretty well just out of the box, so I plan on keeping that. You have the branding FNS 40, and then of course on this side, if you can barely see that, but it's FNS USA, Fredericksburg, Virginia. Initially, when I went into the store, because I had done some research, again, I wanted a gun that looked aesthetically pleasing, and this is one, besides the SIG. I saw the SIG 250. When I saw some research on that, some people were complaining about failure to fire, failure to feed, things like that. So that got me a little concerned. SIG is very, to my understanding, SIG is very reputable. good guns. I almost, after doing more research, I almost changed my mind with this and decided to get the SIG 320. Beautiful gun, actually, very nice. I'd like to be able to shoot it, and I'm pretty sure at some point in time I will. But back to this gun, it's got the accessory rail, Picatinny rail, for accessories such as a tactical light or laser. Now, one of my biggest disappointments, because when I did my research online, I figured that online, because again I got this from Academy Sports, I saw where they had the black finish as well as a safety. I wanted something with a safety, but of course what they show online and what they have in store stock is totally different. Of course, also with Academy, you can't purchase a gun online. You have to make sure that you fill out all the paperwork. So I didn't have a problem with that. But I got the two-tone finish, which I'm good with. Safety, I can learn to live with that. As you can see by the trigger, where it's almost like it's in half, it gives a little bit of resistance. But that's basically the trigger safety. It's not too heavy of a trigger, and I'm still learning the terminology, but the trigger itself is between 5.5 to 7 pounds on the trigger pull. It's double action only, so it doesn't reset when you discharge. It's also center fire. It doesn't have an external hammer, so there's just a firing pin on the inside that strikes against the round to discharge the bullet. But again, I've gone ahead to release the magazine. Again, safety check, lock, and just pulling. And of course, I'm going to reset that. Also with this, there's an indicator right here. I've got my finger covering it, but there's an indicator just to show that when there is a bullet in the round, the indicator will display in red, just to let you know that the gun is hot. So I'm doing everything I can to review this gun and also be safe in the review. So I think hopefully I'm doing a pretty good job. You guys will be the judge of that. Takedown is pretty easy. Again, in order to take down the gun, all you have to do is slide it back, lock it in place, takedown lever just pulls down, and then from there release the gun to so that it's even at the back, squeeze the trigger, and then it just pulls off. So now you have the slide, and on the inside you have the recoil spring. You have your barrel, 4-inch barrel, and then of course you have the slide. When I got the gun, one of the things that I learned, which I didn't even realize, is that you don't really want to fire. You can fire it, but it's probably best to go ahead and clean off the oils. And also you have a polymer grip, so it's very lightweight, very, very lightweight. And then of course you got the rails, all the mechanisms on the inside. And I believe this part pulls off if you want to do a full detailed cleaning, which I'm not going to mess with. But when it comes to cleaning, what I had done is went out to purchase some simple green, very inexpensive. Got that from Home Depot, and I just sprayed down the slide, sprayed down the barrel, and sprayed some on the inside of the handle. Took an old toothbrush and just scrubbed everything until it foamed. Let it sit for a little bit, and then I dried it off. And then what I had done is got some frog lube, because a lot of gun owners had raved about frog lube being the choice. And there's a lot of different ones. Hoppies. I know I purchased one, CLP. It's a cleaner, lubrication, protectorant. But I decided to give frog lube a try. And essentially what I did was just take a blow dryer and heat it up to where it's uncomfortable to the touch with your bare hands. From there, the frog lube, it's got a wintergreen smell. Actually, to me, it smells a lot like Bengay. But I just slathered it all over the metal parts, taking great care not to get it right here. That's with the firing pin. So when you squeeze the trigger, that strikes against the round. So I made sure not to get much, if any, of the frog lube on that part. it will foul up. But with the frog glue, what it does is it helps to coat and lubricate the metal parts. Also, when you're discharging, because you have your gunpowder residue, you get a lot of fouling with a lot of the carbons on the inside of the barrel. And you can't really see it. I've got not too great of an angle, but it helps to reduce rust, because metal contacting with air and bits of moisture in air, it will eventually cause rusting. But with the frog glue, it protects it, and you don't have to use it each and every time. I will find out, but I made sure to clean with great care every nook and cranny on the main parts. Didn't really have to do much with the rod. I know there's replacement rods out there, more custom rods, but this one, I'll see how this holds up. It has good spring, a lot of taut, is very taut. So I'll just leave that as, if I ever get into the customization and modding of the gun, then I'll have to see what that costs. I might even decide to purchase the black barrel, but I've searched online for this, as well as the barrel and the slide. Very expensive, so I already spent enough getting all the stuff for the gun and still haven't fired it yet. Owning a gun is a very, very expensive thing, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But after I let the frog lube sit, I cleaned just scrubbed the inside of the barrel thoroughly. Cleaned, got, once again, all the nooks and crevices, and then of course cleaned off everything on the slide. Cleaned, just add a little bit to the metal parts on the inside as well as on the railing. And again, because it's a lubricant, you don't have to have a separate oil. And for those that don't know, and I'm pretty sure people who've considered getting a gun and have done the research have probably checked on other YouTuber sites for guns and cleaning methods and things like that. You don't want to mix frog glue with any other type of lubrication, because especially if you store the firearm, as some people have complained, over a period of time, it will sweat out of the metal, and it'll contact, and it'll get very gunky, and it'll have a very sticky feel. It won't fire properly, especially if some seeps into the firing pinhole. So you have to be very careful when you do that. And also with the frog glue, one of the great benefits of that is with the fouling, it keeps it on the surface. Again, I think I may have said, but it just ensures that it doesn't penetrate into the metal. So it facilitates the cleaning process when you go through that clean, whether it's 100 rounds, 500 rounds. Some people say they clean after maybe 1,000 rounds. I'll see how anal retentive I am when it comes to the cleaning of my gun. I probably want to do it even after 50 rounds, but it won't be necessary. And also with frog glue, because it does permeate into the metal, you don't have to reapply it until after a couple of just dry cleanings. So let's go ahead and put everything back together. So let's make sure that this part is facing up the little fin here, as I call it. That's the part that catches for the spring. For the rod, you have the metal part, and then you have the little plastic part. The plastic part goes at the front, and it just catches in place. Then, of course, just slide it back on there, rack it, and from there, just reposition the takedown lever, and there you have it. So, once again, when I go to the shooting part of my training class, I will more than likely have my GoPro cam. I'll be very excited to experience this for the first time in my 45 years. But also I want for, the YouTubers out there to be able to see at least the results of how I handle a gun. I'm not afraid. I'm always very cautious of handling the gun. That's why I've decided not to keep any live rounds in. Of course, once I get my, done a bit of shooting, I'll be more comfortable leaving live rounds. But at the same time, because of state laws, you have to be very careful with keeping the gun locked in case you have young ones in the home. I have a young daughter. I just want to make sure that she doesn't play with it. I'm pretty sure she does. I mean, she's 11 going on 12. But I just want to make sure just to follow the law. That's the most important thing. You see stories about kids who play with guns, and part of that environment is kids who play with toy guns will point a toy gun at someone, which means if they see a live gun, a real gun, they'll point that as well. That's what makes me uncomfortable. That's why I've never been an advocate for giving kids toy guns. Even if they look fake, extremely fake, I don't allow for that. I hate that. But anyway, that's a different story altogether. I don't want to get on my soapbox about that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the FNS 40. I'm very excited to be able to shoot this hopefully next week, and I will keep you guys up to date. Anyway, if you like this video, hope that you like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook. Peace.